What's up, Ramblers? I know you want to get into today's podcast, but real quick, make sure you're keeping up by following Assistance HQ and Offsource HQ across all platforms, anywhere on all social medias, to keep up with all of the latest content, updates, exclusive, and everything else. And for business owners, visit offsource.tech for all of your office outsourcing needs, a virtual assistant for every occasion. All the links are in the bio, so go check them out right now. Now, here's your podcast. Before we begin, a moment from our sponsor. What's going on, Ramblers? We're back with another episode of the Ramblings, and we're doing not another switch up, but we're doing a complete switch up for today's episode. Instead of having a guest host or me really just kind of going on rambling, I've actually created a podcast outline for you guys on what it's like and some of the benefits of being a virtual assistant. Because as a virtual assistant and running a virtual assistant business, I figured I'd, share the opportunity with you guys. A lot of people are looking for different side hustles, and I guess, would like to share why being a virtual assistant, and I know we've talked about it before, but I really think now that, I've had more experience and a lot of things have changed. I don't know if you guys have been keeping up with what's going on, but with everything that's been, changing and going on, I think I'd kind of at least like to review it, give you guys and give the new viewers who haven't had a chance to really, listen to it yet or hear the stance on what I do or why I do what I do. I just figured, it'd be a pretty good topic to cover, go over again, really, because I'm noticing a lot of new viewers. And so I just want to give you guys an opportunity to see this opportunity that I saw, and I'm never stingy when it comes to money or opportunities and those kind of areas, because everyone could use a boost up, and there's enough for everyone to go. There's enough to go around for everybody. So yeah, that was just my particular thinking. Anyway, so for the new listeners, because I see a lot of new listeners and everything, what we do at Offsource, I'm Angelo, owner, founder of Offsource. And what Offsource is a virtual assistant company. And we have virtual assistants that help small business owners. We work primarily with self-employed business owners, but we work with self-employed business owners and provide them a virtual assistant that utilizes their SaaS products and business software. So there are things like QuickBooks, Zoho, Salesforce, any like Canva. So we do web design. So anything that you do in an office, we outsource it or outsource it, if you will, and we handle it virtually on our end. And so all of our people are virtual. And the idea came to me when I was doing bookkeeping and I was working from home before the pandemic. And I was like, oh, hey, I can do this for multiple bosses. Oh, wait, no, I can go do this as a job and make it be my own boss and have multiple people that I'm the assistant to. What if I'm an assistant to multiple people, but don't have to leave anywhere? You understand? So that was my thinking. And so I did some research and stumbled upon being a virtual assistant. And so that's really where Offsource, it started off as Angelo's Assistants of America, but that's really where Offsource got its birth from. Being a virtual assistant and just wanting to help small business owners that are dysfunctional, like not organized, and being able to bring them like scalability, because a business with 1 to 4 employees averages roughly around $387,000. And so a small business with 0 employees, so a self-employed person, is around 50. And I noticed, I'm like, hey, that's a $330,000 difference. And obviously, even if there are 4 part-time people, you have to have 4 part-time salaries that you're able to pay. So clearly your business is able to take home more, meaning by default, you would take home more. So even if it only increases 15, even if you only went from making $50,000 to $65,000, that increase of that $15,000 allows for you to now have to work less and then continue to increase as it scales. And so we are supposed to represent virtually the office of those very first 4 employees. That would be things like administrative assistant, bookkeeper, social media manager, maybe a project manager. You might need someone to be in marketing, a web designer. So we really try and handle any office position. And those are really the positions that, unless it's sales, you don't really generate revenue. Accountants don't generate revenue. Bookkeepers don't generate revenue. Admins don't generate revenue. Um, Human resources people don't generate revenue. So it becomes very hard to pay for these very needed positions when the company is only making but so much money, and the people that you're hiring aren't necessarily directly bringing your business more money. So I just saw it as an opportunity. And so there are what I would consider, I guess, like almost like the five W's on becoming a virtual assistant, and the H on the how. So it was like the who, what, the where, and the that. The five W's: the who, what, when, where, and why of becoming a virtual assistant. So the who, is for just people that want to work in a virtual manner. Most people now are, I'm sure, because of the coronavirus, are used to working from home anyway. So being a virtual assistant is only basically doing what you're doing right now. I find it very hard to explain what a virtual assistant does because of the term assistant. Whenever you use the word assistant, you can really kind of slap that to almost any industry, real estate assistant, medical assistant, lawyers assistant, or legal assistant actually, construction assistant. So it becomes very hard to understand what an assistant does when it can vary depending on the industry. So we're really becoming or trying to take that term of assistance and apply it to a general purpose so that we're able to create like almost an entire virtual workforce. And so we've really been debating on the term virtual professional. And so if you're a professional, whatever you do right now, if it's in an office, so whether you're an insurance agent, if you do real estate, whatever you do right now is done from a computer. If you work from a computer, your work can be done from home, making you able to work virtually. And so when you have the people that assist you or support you in your endeavors, those people will be virtual. So being a virtual assistant is really for people that just kind of want to work from home, really. And in that, I've kind of already explained what is a virtual assistant. A virtual assistant is really just a remote working employee. So if you usually self-employed though, so if you work for yourself and you bring on clients, and you have the flexibility of working from anywhere, which is the where you can work literally from anywhere as long as you have access to internet. I recommend high-speed internet. I do recommend that. I'm not going to say somewhere just like any type of internet. I definitely say like recommend having some high-speed internet. It it really pays well in the perks and the benefits of everything. So that's the where. So you're really going to want to have good internet. It brings great flexibility because of that, which is the why. You're going to have great flexibility, great pay. You could travel from anywhere and you're working remote. So for everyone working from, think of this. There has been, I've seen on Twitter, a mass fleeing from San Francisco. People are like leaving like Silicon Valley like crazy because they're able to work from home. And so they were paying these super high prices to live very close to work and work at these prestigious companies and live in these prestigious areas where now it's everyone has to be home in one specific location. And because San Francisco is so condensed, everyone lives right on top of each other. Almost like New York, how people are saying people are fleeing New York. You're living right on top of each other because it's the aesthetic and you live close to work. Now you're still making the same money and you can be home. And so you are not constrained to one specific location. So a lot of people are not really saying fleeing, but moving to lower, not, I'm not, lower priced areas so that they can receive a better quality of living. Because if they had a okay quality of living in San Francisco or New York City, how much better would it be if they moved to some countryside like North Carolina? So the perks are almost endless. And now, if you're not necessarily tech savvy, you prefer to work in an office kind of setting, being a virtual assistant necessarily may not be for you. The how. This is probably the question that people will ask the most. How can you become a virtual assistant? You're going to need the equipment, which is a laptop and internet. The very first thing. laptop and internet. And it should be, as we said, it should be good internet. The next thing you're going to need, which not a lot of people really focus on, is a skill. And you're going to want to have a skill inside of a niche that you know. The reason being is that as a virtual assistant, you are in the service industry. There's no real product. You, as the person, are that product. So what becomes an issue for a lot of people is, what is your product, or what are you? What do you do? Can you just do schedule? There are general VAs, obviously. General VAs only do regular things. Sorry about that. Had a little bit of technical difficulties and interruption. I was talking about this skill. And the reason that a lot of people don't necessarily realize that you have to have a skill is that the most basic set of skills that virtual assistants have are admin skills. And those are things like scheduling, organizing your email, making the calls, doing like small invoicing and billing work. However, if you want to separate yourself from the pack, you're going to have to pick a skill set in a niche. For example, bookkeeping in the niche of real estate. So if you only do bookkeeping for people that are in real estate, there are enough people that do real estate, because remember, you don't have to limit yourself to your local area. You can limit yourself to the world. So because you have internet access and because you can limit yourself to the entire world, you can pick a niche and still be extremely broad. So if you did bookkeeping for just real estate agents, or not just real estate agents, but like, self landlords, that would give you a big enough pool of just landlords, because you're limiting yourself to every single continent and country and anyone that has internet. But it gives you a leg up, because every single other virtual assistant does regular admin. That's the basic skill set. It's not even really a skill set, because it's the general VA area. So once you become a specialized VA, that not only increases your prices, where you do things like bookkeeping, web design, social media management, that gives you a leg up and a differentiation from other virtual assistants. And so when you differentiate yourself, that's going to then bring you a different type of clients. So that's going to bring you a different marketing strategy, whether it be graphic designers, web designers, real estate people, legal people, people in construction. The type of assistant you are, it's going to be obviously to vary on what industry you want to work in. And that, because you're an assistant, assistants aren't limited. And people think of assistants as like these like lowly kind of people, but in reality, they're almost like the number 0. They have the ability to be attached to almost any category to make that their worth instantly greater. So that's one of the reasons I fell in. I don't have to limit myself. I can be an assistant, because assistants aren't everything. People think of, like I said, I'm gonna just be repeating myself. Look at myself. Oh, we're already rambling. So, but some tips I think on becoming a virtual assistant, or as I said, I'm trying to probably grow this into the term of being a virtual professional. For those, if you think you'd want to be a virtual assistant, I highly recommend starting out solo as a self-employed person, getting a website up, and definitely getting into some networking groups or chambers. As a virtual assistant, a lot of people, especially within the US, are unfamiliar with the term, with the people, what we do, how we work, all of that kind of stuff. So if you join a chamber or a networking group, you are bound to find someone that could use your services. Every time I go to a networking meeting, I have at least one one-on-one connection from that networking meeting. So hitting your local networking business chamber, or just your networking like BNI chapter or Master Networks referral group, I highly recommend checking those out. I'm going to be actually putting some of these links in the resources page of the business. So check those coming out soon. Using maybe like Fiverr or other Upwork, things like that, other like freelance platforms, Craigslist, using these kind of platforms are a great way to just get your name out there. If you wanted to become a virtual assistant, virtual professional, if you think of it like this, if you were a web designer, right? People that make websites, but freelancers, they do it on Fiverr and do it for themselves. They have the people from the Philippines that make your website for, like a couple $100. They do it from the Philippines. They're not here. So they're like a virtual assistant. They're assisting you in your work. They're just in a specific niche. They're in the web design niche, and web design is for anyone that needs a website, and every business needs a website. So they're focusing on that particular niche. So if you needed something else for them to assist you with, you're out of luck. However, because you need a website, that's their niche and that's what they focus on, and that's where they get their money. So tip is always focused on picking a niche and picking a skill that best suits that niche. So real estate might be accounting. If you're in the web thing, it might be like web design or coding. Front end and back end development might be a really big skill. But gig work is on the rise, and it's definitely the future of work. This is absolutely the future of work, 100%, no doubt. Because think of it, like we all never didn't. None of us knew that we could all work from home so quickly, so fast, so smoothly before coronavirus, before we had to, before companies had to, because statistically, we work better from home. So what makes companies not want to allow people to work from home? They want to have control. That's why I'm so happy that gig work is on the rise, because remote teams, plus the cost of employees, plus employees wanting higher pay and benefits, means that virtual assistants are going to be the future in gig work. So being a freelancer in said area, and I'm using virtual assistant to be the term, grow into the term virtual professional. Being a virtual professional is going to be the way of the future, especially as a freelancer. I think everyone should be freelancer work, and that we should abolish employees. If we abolished employees, I think that should be a thing. If we abolished employees, which would be at least low level wage employees, think of all of the freelancers that, or all the abilities that you could have as a freelancer doing a low level wage job for yourself, which would then increase your pay, increase your worth, increase the value of your skill, and the money that you're able to then like put back out for your own personal gain. Think of a cook at McDonald's. If you were a cook at McDonald's and you were able to go be a cook in other places, or that job had the skill level to translate into other areas, and you said, hey, I'm not just here at McDonald's. So if you want me to be here at McDonald's and be efficient, you're going to have to pay me equivalent to what Five Guys pays me. Whatever. They might pay me $17 an hour because I'm pretty good at this. So if you want me to work on your team as a freelancer, because I only do, say, 5 hours here and 5 hours there, it's going to cost you $17, $18 an hour. And so if we abolished low-level wage work and replaced it with gig work so that those same workers could take those skills and go perform them for other businesses at their own personal cost, it would make it so much better for those people, because not only are they respected and honored for their skill because it's freelance, and we all for some reason respect the idea of whatever someone does being able to be freelanced as more professional or respectable. If you were a writer, if you were a cook, if you were an assistant, a legal person, whatever you do in the virtual aspect, people automatically assume that because you're a freelancer, it almost makes you like in a self-employed category. So if we made the idea of being a low-wage worker, no longer being a low-wage worker, but a high-skilled customer service cashier, we are now bringing back not only monetary value, but dignity into some of these roles that people in everyday society have to fill. So I think that the answer isn't necessarily that they should be paid more. I think that they should be paid more on the basis of them doing more work, because as a freelancer, you now create competition. When McDonald's has a high turnover rate, that's because, oh snap, we pay whatever you want, we pay whatever we want, and it doesn't matter. You guys can kick rocks. So there's going to be a high turnover rate. So therefore, McDonald's actually is going to be spending a lot of money because of turnover. But they don't pay that much, so it doesn't necessarily matter. Whereas if there was a freelance cashier who provided a high customer service rate, he's going to bring good money to the business, so you're going to want to keep him. So you're going to pay him what he's worth because that's what he says he's worth, and he has shown that. So I personally think gig work, because it's on the, I think that would be like the great way to go. And that's like, it would remove all of the classist problems that we currently have. Before you go, Ramblers, if you enjoyed today's podcast, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and make sure you're following me across all platforms at Assistance HQ. Catch up on exclusive content and keep track of everything going on at OffSource. See you in October.